Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to G2 Gaming with the Gundam Man right here. And it has been 3 weeks since Star Wars The Force Awakens has been released in all of its glory to the public. And man, is it a great movie. Man, I cannot wait until it comes out on DVD, because I've seen it 7 times now, and am ready to talk to you more in depth about the movie. So yeah, this here will be my follow-up video to the last Star Wars The Force Awakens review video that I posted that was spoiler-free. This one's going to contain all the juicy spoilers and theories and stuff like that. Minus one, because one theory I have is really big, and it deserves its own video for it. So I'm going to be doing that later, and you'll find out what that theory is about in just a few minutes. So, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, this is going to be a spoiler review for Star Wars The Force Awakens. So if you have not seen the movie yet, two things for you. One, why not? You should. It's been 3 weeks. You should have gone to see it already, even if you're remotely interested in seeing it. And two, just stop this video right now. Matter of fact, I'm gonna pause just for a second. Are you gone? No. Well, if you're not gone, that's your own fault. We're gonna talk about all the spoilers, like I said, in this video, and it's not gonna be pretty if you haven't seen the movie and you don't want it spoiled for you. So, by all means, scurry along if you haven't seen the movie. Check out my spoiler-free review if you need to. But yeah, the reason why I am so stressing this is because, like I said in the last review video, I believe Star Wars, or for me personally, Star Wars The Force Awakens is the single-handed best movie-going experience that I have ever been a part of. And I do not want to ruin other people's experience of the movie, and therefore I do not want to talk spoilers with them. Now, most movies I can actually talk about spoilers and aspects of that movie if the person I'm talking to wants me to. This one, not so much. If you were my friend and you said, I don't want the spoilers, I will not tell you any of the spoilers. I'll tell you what I think of the movie in a very nutshell approach, but no spoilers I will give. So yeah, without further ado, take note of this very, very big warning, spoiler warning, as we continue on into discussing Star Wars The Force Awakens. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, so I'm going to discuss in more detail the plot and the storylines and the aspects that I did and didn't like. One of these things is about Luke, so I couldn't talk to you about it in the last video, but this one I can. So, without any further ado, let's get started. Once again, spoiler alert. Okay, so, alrighty. So, this movie, like I said, is my favorite movie experience of all time. I'm sure there will eventually be topped by what? I'm not even exactly sure I could really tell you. But, it's going to be it's going to probably go down as one of my favorite movie-going experiences ever. So, I'm going to talk to you about the storyline first, and then I'm going to delve into a little bit more of the character. Well, not really so much the characters, because I did a pretty good review of that in my last video. But storyline, and then my theories about each character and thoughts about each character more so, instead of my opinion on them. So yeah, going into this movie, most people had 3 questions. 1, who is Kylo Ren? 2, who is Rey? And 3, where and what happened to Luke? And thankfully, this movie answers 2 of the 3, and falls just short of everything but answering the 3rd one. Well, the 2nd one that I give, which is, well, anyway. And so that is one of the things that I will be talking to you about. If you've seen my last video, you know that I pretty much confirmed or denied everything in the trailers. So that's pretty much what I did. But let's dig a little deeper now. First of all, Luke Skywalker has vanished. That's like the opening line of the title crawl, and that's pretty much everything. And actually, at first I thought the only people that seemed to have known the existence of Luke Skywalker was Kylo Ren, the mysterious old guy at the beginning of the movie. Everybody else from the original trilogy, Poe, General Hux, and all that kind of stuff. But Rey seems to be one of the only ones that thinks he's a myth. Now I'm not sure if she's just that unique person there, or if it's more than just her. But I'm not so sure. But the movie at first makes you think that maybe people think Luke Skywalker and the Force is a myth. But then as you go along, more people know about Luke than originally thought. So yeah, pretty much the entire Resistance knows about Luke Skywalker. Finn knows a great deal about Luke Skywalker because in one of the novels, and I'll discuss this a little bit because I thought that was a pretty interesting thing. They novelized the movie, which we all know was coming, knew was coming. So, but in that novel, he seemed very surprised. I remember reading a spoiler plot at how he seemed surprised about how Rey didn't seem to know who Luke was. I mean, we even know Maz Kanata knows who Luke is. So, I'm not sure if it's just Rey that thinks he's a myth or if there's more. I'm sure there's more people that thinks he's a myth, but Rey seems to be the only one that we know from The Force Awakens that actually thinks Luke is a myth for a good majority of the movie. One of the things that I did discuss in the last video is how I do not like how the movie completely resembled the episode 4 and other aspects of the original trilogy. Like I said, in theory, the premise of the movie is really cool and it's pretty darn cool. But I just can't get over one of my two biggest gripes about the movie was that it was too much like A New Hope. I mean, if you've seen, and I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent here, if you've seen the original Karate Kid and this new Karate Kid with Jaden Smith and Jackie Chan, that was the kind of feeling I got, especially watching the second half of this movie. Okay, so if you've seen the Karate Kid movies, the original Karate Kid, you had that story, you had it all, you had Ralph Macchio's character, Mr. Miyagi's character, all that kind of stuff. But then you had the bullies that you had that they were training to beat in the tournament at the end of the movie and all that kind of stuff. The new Karate Kid, they had Jackie Chan as the Mr. Miyagi character, Jaden Smith as the Danny LaRusso character, and all that kind of stuff. But they followed generally the same story. That's how I felt, especially watching the second half of this movie. Every time I watch it, and mind you, like I said, I've watched it 7 times now, and I could probably go see it again. I don't think I will, because I already saw the movie in every form that I wanted to see it. I saw it in regular standard def, at least 3 times, possibly more. I think maybe 4. I've seen it in 3D 3 times and IMAX once, which was one of those 3D times. Overall, I mean, I could probably go see it again, but I don't think I will. I think I'll wait until the DVD release. But anyways, every time I've seen it, I literally thought the second half of that movie was just Episode 4 just remade and kind of redone into the way they would do it. But that's one of my biggest issues with this movie so far. And then I'll talk about the next one pretty soon here. But that being said, I did really like how this movie, and it seems like this new trilogy will hold to the character types and the character arcs of the original trilogy. I do like that, and provided Kylo Ren stays evil, I do not want him to go back to the light side. I don't want that redemption story again. We got that with Anakin Skywalker / Darth Vader. We don't need it again. I'm sorry, but we don't. But yeah, I like how Kylo Ren is pretty much the Darth Vader. I like how Snoke is pretty much the Emperor. I like how Hux is Moff Tarkin, and Poe and Finn are pretty much Han Solo divided by 2. And I really like the dynamic that Snoke has with Kylo Ren and Hux. Whereas the Emperor valued Darth Vader the highest and then didn't really deal with anybody else. And Darth Vader dealt with Moff Tarkin and all that kind of stuff. I like how in this one at least it's more of a triangle. You have Snoke up at the top apparently and obviously, and then you have Kylo Ren might be a little bit higher up on the scale compared to General Hux, but they seem to be on a little bit more level playing field. They seem to be a little bit more equal to Snoke as opposed to Moff Tarkin and Vader was. I mean, Vader and Moff Tarkin was kind of tugging back on Vader if he thought he'd crossed the line, but that very rarely happened. But yeah, and then like I said, and then Rey is pretty much Luke, and that gets into a little bit more of my 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 theory a little bit. And literally, Rey is Luke, or Luke is Rey. More so, Rey is Luke than anything else. But anyways, so that's basically what I wanted to talk to you about that part. But let's talk about a little bit more of what the spoilers are about. So like I said, you came in wondering you came in having 3 questions: Who is Kylo Ren? Who is Rey? And what and where is Luke? What happened to Luke and where is Luke? Luckily, the movie doesn't take a lot of time. It takes about a little less than half of the movie to figure out who Kylo Ren is. And it's obvious, and then it is told blatantly that Han Solo is Kylo Ren's father. And at the end, you're revealed that Kylo Ren's real name is Ben Solo, yada, yada, yada. And then, ironically, like 3 minutes after you find out that his name is Ben Solo, he kills Han. So, yep. Oh, spoiler alert. I forgot. Never mind. Spoiler alert was way at the beginning of this video. But yeah, so Kylo Ren kills off Han. So son kills father. It's pretty depressing. I cannot believe they killed him off, actually. I thought Chewie was going to bite the dust. But I guess Chewie's character or actor is a little bit easier to replace since he is in a costume versus Han. But yeah, like I said, I'm glad they didn't really wait too much or didn't wait too long to answer the question, who is Kylo Ren? And then you pretty much find out where Luke is and what happened to him over the course of the entire movie. But that is also my that's my biggest gripe. I had 2 big gripes. One of my biggest gripes downsides to the movie was how it resembled episode 4 too much. But the biggest issue that I had with it was Luke was only in the last scene like 45 seconds to a minute or something like that. And quite frankly, he was in there for too long. There was literally no point to have him in the movie at all. I mean, it could have ended with the Resistance waving to Rey and the Millennium Falcon whenever they were leaving the base. It would have been a little bit more Star Wars-esque as far as the ending is concerned. I mean, you always had some kind of triumphant thing. At the end of 4, it was the ceremony, and you had this crowd of people, and then you went into the credits. At the end of 5, you had Luke and Leia looking into the galaxy, and then you had the credits. At the end of 6, you pretty much had the celebration, and then down into the credits. And then 1, you had a celebration, a large mass of people into the credits. You had, and in 2, I don't really remember what 2 was. It was also, actually, I think 2 was also a mass of people, but it was the clones, and it went all the way down into the credits. And then 3, it was Vader and Sidious and younger Moff Tarkin looking on to the construction of the first Death Star. So I think the Resistance waving to the Millennium Falcon as it was leaving the base, that would have been a little bit more of a Star Wars-esque ending, opposed to the pan around shot of Luke and Rey extending her arm, holding the lightsaber out to Luke. But yeah, there was no point for Luke to be even in this movie. I mean, yeah, I think the only reason why it was there was there would have been a fan uprising if he wasn't in the movie. And then also to expand upon that one scene where Kylo Ren and Rey are in the same room in that cell, and Kylo Ren's inside Rey's head and sees this scene about an island and an ocean and all that kind of stuff. If you pay attention in the movie where that happens, the last place, the last location is literally Rey going to that location that Kylo Ren describes. But again, there was no point for that last part in the movie at all. I'm sorry if you feel like I'm being harsh on it, but there really wasn't. The marketing made me so mad in this movie about because they were literally like J.J. Abrams after like the second or third trailer was released. We noticed that there was still no Luke Skywalker, and J.J. Abrams and Kathleen Kennedy and all of them were like, "Oh, there's a reason he's not in the trailer. It's okay. You'll find that out." Yeah. There was a reason he wasn't in the trailer because he was only in the last scene. Or there was no reason he was in the trailer and no reason he was in the movie because he was only in the last scene. I would have been okay if he was in that last scene and then he said the line that he has in the trailer. The Force is strong in my family. My father has it. I have it. My sister has it. And you have this power too. That was the only line he had said in the entire movie. Or if he had just said one line like, "You've made it," or "I've been waiting for you," or something like that. Maybe not that corny or cheesy, but something like that. I would have been okay. But instead, he just looks back at her with a very confused, puzzled, worried or conflicted, troubled, whatever you want to call it, look towards Rey. I think it says a little bit more than a lot of people are giving credit for, and I think it says a lot opposite of what a lot of people say it does. But yeah, that is my biggest issue about the entire movie. One of the other things that I do like to point out is the original cast reveals. I loved most of them. There were some that I didn't like. The best one, in my opinion, was the Millennium Falcon when Rey and Finn are running towards this quad jumper on Jakku, and it gets blown up. And as they're running to this quad jumper, Finn's like, "What about we use that ship over there?" And Rey's just like, "It's garbage. We don't need garbage. We need to get away." And then the quad jumper is just blown up. Then you pan over and you see the Millennium Falcon in all of its glory under these tarps. And that was like the best. Every time I saw it with an audience of people within like the first 3 showings that I saw it, everybody cheered. I was like, but yeah. Then my second was Han and Chewie's reveal, and then R2's. I think they're about even, in my opinion, as far as nostalgia is concerned. The Han and Chewie line, or the Han line, Chewie, we're home. That just put something in my soul that I had been missing. Like Star Wars was back, and I knew it, and we all knew it. And then R2, whenever he gets that tarp pulled off of him by BB-8, it's like, oh, he's there. I was actually very upset that R2 was at the Resistance base and not with Luke, but I guess it turned out okay in the end. And then Leia's reveal was boring, and then C-3PO's was meh. And then Luke, like I said, didn't really have to be there at all. I would have been okay with revealing him in the first scene or two of Star Wars Episode 8, giving everybody more of a reason to go see Star Wars Episode 8 if they were waiting for Luke. But apart from that, he didn't need to be in there, and he shouldn't have. Alrighty, so that's pretty much it. I'm going to start talking about some theories and opinions about more of the characters. First, I'll talk about Kylo Ren, because I've basically gone over why I think he's my favorite character. Second, or after, or before Rey. I think Rey's my second favorite character. But either way, I feel like, I honestly, as much as I don't want this to happen, I do think he will be redeemed and turned back to the light side, much like Vader was in the original trilogy. And I don't think he was named after Ben Kenobi, because Han Solo barely knew Obi-Wan, and Leia knew Obi-Wan as Ben. So if Leia knew Ben as Obi-Wan, so that just doesn't make any sense. There was no formal introduction between Obi-Wan and Han Solo to begin with. So I was like, Han Solo probably knew him all for about 12 hours, if that. Just enough to borrow his ship, go to the Death Star, and get killed. That's as long as Han Solo knew about, or knew Ben/Obi-Wan Kenobi. I feel like, though, Leia will be the one to turn Kylo Ren, aka Ben Solo, to the light side if indeed it happens. That, or he will get killed by Rey at some point, or seriously injured by Rey by the end of the trilogy. Maybe because Kylo Ren might end up killing Luke. Not sure, but something bad will happen to Luke that may or may not set Rey off the deep end and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, and the next time I believe the next time we see Kylo Ren, he will be much stronger with the Force. And Daisy Ridley, even though she'll be in the middle of her training, she would still be early enough that the next time she faces Kylo Ren, she will lose. She will not win. And then we can go on to Snoke. If you've watched my last video about the review about Star Wars Force Awakens, you know that I think there's more of a possibility that he could be Darth Plagueis by the end of the that he'll be revealed as Darth Plagueis. I still don't believe that'll happen, but I think that'd be pretty darn cool if it did. I think he could possibly be Darth Plagueis and possibly the puppeteer, and therefore the puppeteer behind all of the movies 1 through 7, and even going to the point where he created Anakin Skywalker after knowing that Sidious was going to kill him, and all that kind of stuff. But then when Anakin Skywalker went back to the light side at the end of 6, he was like, okay, now I can't use him, and he's dead, and he's already back on the light side, so I had to start over from again, and then maybe created Rey with the intention of making her his apprentice. Though in the novelization of the movie, it's implied that Snoke may have wanted to kill Rey instead of convert her to the dark side after he finds out that Rey resisted Kylo Ren. Again, realistically, I don't think he is Darth Plagueis. I think it would be really, really cool, but I don't think he is Darth Plagueis. He's been around. It's been confirmed that he's been around for a long time, and he's just some very sensitive, very force-sensitive Dark Force user, and he has a knowledge of the. And the reason I think this is because he knows that the light side and the dark side forces are fighting within Kylo Ren, and therefore, and he senses the Force awakening around them, and he asks Kylo Ren, "There's been an awakening. Have you felt it? Even you, Master of the Knights of Ren, have never faced such a test." So he knows that there's a test coming in the Force. He knows that there's a lot of things happening in the Force. So we obviously know he's Force sensitive. And then at the end of the movie, he tells General Hux to bring Kylo Ren to him, and it's time to complete his training. So he's been training Kylo Ren, and that's just not the only. That's not the only way we know he's been training Kylo Ren, but that's one of the reasons. Also, I think that he might have a more personal connection to Leia and or Han and Luke than we were originally led to believe. The reason for this is because the way Leia talks to Han about how Kylo Ren got seduced to the dark side, she says something around that Snoke lured him, Snoke seduced him. So they were talking about Snoke on a little bit more of a personal level, like they knew who he was. Maybe even briefly, but they know a little bit more about Kylo, or Snoke is a little bit closer to them than I think we were originally giving him credit to. But yeah, it's like, what else? How else did they know? Do they know about Snoke? How else do they know about or how else did Snoke become or seduce Kylo Ren? Was did they like send Ben Kenobi, or not Ben Kenobi, Ben Solo on a transport, unguarded transport to Luke, and have him, and then he got intercepted by Snoke and then started communing with them? No, it doesn't make sense that they'd send an unguarded transport to them. But what does make sense is that Snoke kind of knew who they were, they knew who Snoke was, and then it just went on from there. So yeah, we'll probably figure that out a little bit more in episode 8 and 9 whenever we reveal that Snoke is a little bit closer to the Solos and the Skywalkers than everybody thinks. And now, time for Poe and Finn. There's not much I can say about these two. As much as I liked both characters, I didn't really care about them too much. I would have liked to see more of Poe, because Poe is just great. Probably one of my favorite actors in a Star Wars movie. He's got great chemistry with pretty much every character that he interacts with. I mean, especially BB-8, but come on. BB-8's a freaking cute droid. Who wouldn't have good chemistry with him? I liked Finn, but my biggest problem with him was that he was too much of a wuss and he depended too much on Rey for barely even knowing her. I hope to God that there's not a romantic side to them. I mean, I know there's been a romantic aspect to both already existing trilogies. The original trilogy, it was Han and Leia, and the prequel trilogy, it was Anakin Skywalker and Padme. But come on, there doesn't need to be another romance thing in there. And even in the novelization, it was funny because I was reading the review about the novelization, and one of the 45 plot elements that it kind of explains. Apparently, at the end of the book and the story of Star Wars Episode 7, when they come back from destroying the Starkiller base, Rey ends up hugging Poe and all that kind of stuff to be comforted after Finn's like traumatic thing. Anyway, and it sets up this love triangle, and I was like, no, we don't need that. Although I would rather Poe and Rey be an item versus Poe and Finn be an item, and just Stormtrooper with Jedi don't mix. I'm sorry, it's don't mix. And then if you had Poe and Rey, Poe could be like the backseat driver or the backseat pilot, or Rey could be the backseat pilot. I think that would be a funny dynamic between the two of them. But anyway, I'd just rather no romantic thing be existing in the movies, much less between Rey and Finn. My theory, though, is that Rey and Finn will already have been separated long enough by the time of Episode 8, and that it won't matter their personal feelings towards one another. I think Rey will be far enough into her training, even though I don't think she'll be as far along into her training as obviously Kylo Ren will be. But I think Rey will be far enough along into her training that she will not be attached to anyone or anything except for maybe Luke, because he is her master and, in my opinion, her father. And honestly, if there is any, like I said, if there is any romance involved, I hope it's between Poe and Rey rather than Rey and Finn. Anyways, moving on to Luke. Luke also is one of those characters that I don't have a lot to say about him either. Very similar to Poe and Finn and Poe. I like him, but in this movie I did not care about him enough. I mean, I don't really like him in this movie anyway, mainly because he's only in one scene. But I'm glad that this movie did more or less answer the question, what happened to Luke and where is he, and all that kind of stuff. Just really wish he would be a little bit more involved other than that last shot. I mean, that one line in the trailers would have been enough, honestly. If you have his one line about the Force running in his family, then why in the trailers? Then why not put it in the movie? You would have given a lot more people reason to believe Rey is Luke's kid if you had. But that might have been the reason why you didn't. But anyway, but seriously, Luke, I don't really care about in the movie. That's pretty much all I got to say about him. And now, Rey. This theory about Rey, I'm very, 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 very passionate about. She's my second favorite character. There's no more theories that you really need for Kylo Ren other than the fact, will he turn good? Will he stay bad? Yada, yada, yada. Rey, on the other hand, the entire every door is closed and is just waiting to be opened. So this one is my favorite theory. It's my personal theory. And I'm ready to declare 100% that Rey is Luke's daughter. 100% mic drop, walk away. Because it's gonna happen, it will happen, it is happening. Rey is Luke's daughter. And I will stand by this theory until I'm proven wrong in episode 8, if indeed I'm proven wrong at all. Because I watched this 7 times, and after the 6th time I watched it, I was literally laughing to myself, because I was putting together every hint, every idea, every thought, and coming up to an answer to every argument that I've ever heard about Rey being being anything but Luke's daughter. So it was a pretty fun experience. I've never really felt this strongly about a theory about Star Wars. As much as I think it would be cool to have Plagueis be Snoke or Snoke be Plagueis. This one's my favorite. This one's my best. This one I know is going to happen. It's not really a theory anymore. It's cold, hard fact and truth. Rey is Luke's daughter. The movie does everything but say it out front. And I will make a video explaining this, why I believe this, following this video, because I have it all fleshed out, everything fleshed out, and it will take an entire video for me to explain it to you guys. But I will explain it a little bit briefly, and then, like I said, make that video. First things first, she's strong in the Force, and she's an excellent pilot, and has the Force vision of the future, and has used Anakin's lightsaber. The only two to have used Anakin's lightsaber, the only other two to be that good, or to actually have all of those traits, if you think about it, are Anakin and Luke Skywalker themselves. Again, Anakin was the original best pilot in the galaxy, strong with the Force, was using the Force before he even knew what the Force was. He had visions of the future. I wonder what his visions of the future were like in the days prior to the Phantom Menace. That would have been interesting to find out. Or if he had them at all. Maybe he didn't start having the visions of the future until he started learning more about the Force. But I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, he had to have some dreams and stuff, you would think. But then Luke Skywalker, also an excellent pilot, also strong with the Force, also had Force visions of the future, and also used Anakin Skywalker's lightsaber. And now Rey, she's strong with the Force. She's an excellent pilot. She uses Anakin's lightsaber, and she has future visions of the Force with the Force. So I mean, you draw the lines there. I mean, their traits, their genetic, all that kind of stuff. It'll be interesting to see if actually Ben Solo / Kylo Ren ever had future visions with the Force. But I'm just saying. Maz Kanata, and my next point is Maz Kanata says to Rey, the people she is waiting for to come back for her on Jakku are never coming back, but there's someone who still could. Now there's another YouTube video out there that says that this is exactly why she can't be Luke's kid, because she says that the people who are she's waiting for to come back are never going to return, and then that the sense of belonging that she's looking for is not behind her but in front of her in the future. That reason alone, that line, that exchange of words between Maz Kanata and Rey prove that Rey's not Luke's kid. But I feel like that someone who still, like, there's always a lingering possibility, still could, pretty much says that nobody is coming back except there's one who still could, basically. That's basically what I'm saying. And then Rey's immediate line after that is Luke. She acknowledges that one person who still could come back is Luke. And so that tells me that that's everything short of saying that Luke's her father in the movie. Again, I have a lot more to talk about with this debate or with this theory, because I do believe that Rey is Luke's daughter, and I believe it 100%, and I'm very passionate about this theory. But I could go on and on and on about this. But I will have to say that for my next video. But yeah, now to dispute some of the theories about Rey, she's not a Kenobi because she would at least have to be Kenobi's grandkid, because if she was Kenobi's daughter, she would have to be at least closer to Luke's age. Not immediately Luke's age, but close enough to Luke's age. Though I doubt he had a kid while he was on Tatooine. Anyways, he may have stopped being a Jedi. A lot of people hold to this theory that Obi-Wan Kenobi stopped being a Jedi. I don't think he did, because at the end of Revenge of the Sith, Yoda says that he still has more training for him to commune with Jedis who have already passed, and he's like, "Oh, Qui-Gon, okay, cool." And then I also believe that after seeing what Anakin Skywalker went through with Padme, he wasn't going to let that happen to himself. And then he was such a stout Jedi that he wasn't going to break Jedi tradition and Jedi code and do that. And that's what a lot of people say, that's the reason why Luke can't have a kid either, is because he's too much of a Jedi. He's too much of a goody two-shoes Jedi. If he was really trying to rebuild the Order, he wouldn't have succumbed to that. I don't know. I mean, it's a plausible outlook. It's a plausible opinion. But I think everybody slips up at least once. I mean, Kenobi probably didn't, I don't think, and stuff like that. But, I mean, the possibility, I feel like because Luke is so much more involved, I guess you can say. No, he was so much older than almost anybody else by the time he started his Jedi training, that he couldn't go without building some kind of attachment to somebody, if indeed he built an attachment at all to anybody. Maybe he just had a one-night stand and then bam, Rey's created, and now he has to deal with Rey, and he's like, "Oh, I wasn't intending on this, but now that she's my daughter, I have to take care of her, or at least drop her off on Jakku when everything goes south for the Jedi." And then she's not Han or Leia's, although the book, the novelization of the movie, makes it seem more plausible that she is a Solo, but I don't think she is. If she was a Solo, I think they would have said it outright in the movie like they did with Kylo Ren. They probably would have done it, or they probably could have done it, and would have done it around the same time Han offers Rey the job on the Falcon. And then after hearing that they came from Jakku, if Han knew, so this is mainly Han and Leia. This argument is mainly for Han and Leia. If they knew that they were coming from Jakku, which he did before he said put him in an escape pod, we'll drop him off at the next inhabited planet. If they knew that they were coming from Jakku, they would have been like, "Oh, there's a chance that this kid could be my daughter, and therefore maybe I shouldn't put them on an inhabited planet." But yeah, and she can't just be anybody, because it's been said multiple times that Star Wars is supposed to be a story about about the Skywalker family, and that argument, Skywalker family. Now, the argument could be made that Kylo Ren is that Skywalker in question that it's about, but he's technically a Solo because he's Leia and Han's kid. And if you're looking at it at a traditional standpoint, where the mother or the wife, and in the book they're actually married. Han Solo and Leia are actually married. So if you look at it in a more traditional aspect, where the wife takes on the last name of the husband, they're Mr. and Mrs. Solo, and therefore it's Ben Solo, not Ben Skywalker, and all that kind of stuff. So Kylo Ren would have to be the Solo and not the Skywalker, which means there's only one other option that it could be. And unless they make this trilogy all about Luke Skywalker, which doesn't look like they're going to, because they have him only in the last scene, then Rey is that Skywalker that it's going to be about. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have about Rey in the movie and all that kind of stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like, leave a comment, leave whatever. And please let me know about your theories and your opinions on the movie and all that kind of stuff. And I'm going to try and bring you guys more stuff about Star Wars. Like I said, I will be making that full-fledged 100% Rey video fairly shortly. But yeah, if you haven't seen the movie and you just got everything spoiled for you, well, that's your own fault, one, and go see the movie too, because you really do need to see the movie. I will be trying to finish up some finish up and continue doing Assassin's Creed Syndicate, because I know I've been slacking on that one, and then I'll also have to get back into my grind. Eventually, everything is now slowing down, so I can start doing things in a little bit more full-heartedly. Tell me what you think about my theories, and then make sure you come back for that full-fledged Rey theory video that I'm going to be making. I got a lot more to say than what I did, and but yeah, drop comments, drop opinions, drop whatever, and I will read and consider all of them and reply to every one of them if I can. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys enjoyed. Once again, leave a like, comment, subscribe. Adios. Peace until next time.